All right, we are on and we're going to get that
Recording
going.
in progress.
Okay, we are recording. So, as you know, I am recording on several platforms, and so we are going to get started in about a minute here. Just want to make sure that we cover everything over that we need to, and then we will get going. So, let's see. Yeah, one more last minute check here. And we are live. Okay, so where is my screen here? Okay. Oh, I've lost my Zoom video. There we go. Okay, got it. Okay, hello everybody. Okay, so we are right on the dot. So welcome to Money Matters. I am Hung Lu with Cash Property. And before I forget, if you want to connect with me before our Monday sessions, please feel free to do so with the QR code that's up there. Okay, so over the next 30 minutes, we will be talking about real estate and money matters. So I'm going to analyze two deals. Okay, one that came through from somebody, and then I'll show you one of the previous deals that we looked at in the past. And somebody asked me, okay, Hung, how did you come up with the numbers for that? So I will bring that up and share that with you. So just a disclaimer before we get going. So it is December the 4th, 2023. And so if you're watching this and it's not live for you, it's already happened, okay? So the disclaimer is that the ideas and suggestions that I put on today's call is really just for educational purposes only. Please continue to talk to other real estate investors, talk to experts like real estate agents in that market that you're researching, and that's going to come up in the call today. Make sure that you get some additional support. Don't just go off of what I'm saying. It may not be the right ideas or suggestions for you. Okay, so just a little bit of a disclaimer there. So we will get going. So let me see here. So we're going to analyze a couple of deals, and then we've got a couple of questions that came through. So this one, okay, so these ones are all going to be a little bit related here. So one of the first deals that I want to share with you guys in terms of analyzing a deal is from one of the ones that we looked at in the past. And this one came up. So let me share my screen and you'll see why this is a good topic to analyze here. So you'll see on my screen we have this property, and we looked at this a couple weeks ago. Okay, this is in Regina, Saskatchewan, and here's the address here. So, I'm not making this property up. It was available back, so last week or the week before. So, 800,000 is the listing price. Okay, there's the address again. Here's the description. Okay, downtown, 11 units, one bed and 10 one-bedroom units and 1 two-bedroom units, okay? This property is vacant. It is not up and running. It is completely vacant. You have to go in there and do a ton of work, okay? So taxes are $6,002, 1968 built, okay? So it's been on the market at that point 24 days, so not very long, okay? And then there's some other minor information available on here, but that's it, okay? So okay, and then the agents all listing this. Okay, so this is a good one to analyze because the price point is amazing. Okay, so yes, it's Regina. Yes, it's Saskatchewan. Okay, I get that. Okay, but Regina and Saskatchewan, the market has been slowly increasing in that area in terms of appreciation and in terms of people going there. So the population growth has steadily been going up a little bit. And immigration is going to go there because it's so affordable. So that was the other reason why I was looking in Saskatchewan in Regina itself, is because the price point compared to Toronto and Vancouver is so affordable. Okay, so now you might be asking me, well, Hung, why aren't you looking in Alberta? Well, here's the thing. I already have properties in Alberta. So for me, I'm trying to diversify outside of Alberta. And also, a lot of investors are now going into Alberta. Okay, so I'm competing with a lot of other individuals where in Saskatchewan, it's still not as popular. Okay, so I prefer to go to places where there's less eyes on it. And so there's less potential of a bidding war, less competition that way. Because as more people are looking at it, you're going to find that the prices are still going to be increasing because of the potential of all the buyers out there. Okay, so this one is 800,000. So now let me share the Excel sheet to figure out how I would analyze this. Okay, so let me see here. So I do have an Excel sheet. So let's see if we can bring this one up. Okay, so this is the flip spreadsheet that I like to use. It's available for download on the cashproperty.ca website, so you don't have to regenerate this. It's a workable spreadsheet in Excel. Okay, so without even seeing the property, I can sort of guess that it's going to need about 400K of work. Okay, $400,000 worth of work. Now, if you're like, Huong, how did you know that? Well, one, I just spoke to the agent. I said, okay, look, in how much would I need for repairs here? Okay, so I spoke to the listing agent. I also spoke to my agent, and I spoke to some contacts there. Okay, so there's 11 or 12 units there. If you had to redo a unit and cosmetics wise, like if all the appliances were still there, if it's in pretty good shape and you just need to do a cosmetic like paint and some minor repairs, you're probably at the most maybe 5,000 at the most. Okay, but because this building, each unit is going to need major repairs, you're going to need potentially new electrical, new plumbing. Okay, you need to bring it up to code. Like, this building's been sitting vacant for a while. Okay, you don't know what rodents are there. Like when a building is vacated for that long, you have rats and mouse moving in, potentially birds. Okay, so you don't really know the extent of the renovation unless you actually walk through it with a contractor. But even then, you still need to put contingency and buffers in there. Okay, so we have 20% of buffer, so that's $80,000. So that's a lot of buffer space. But here's the thing though, it seems like a lot, but if something goes wrong, like let's say you find asbestos, okay, now that 80,000 it's not even going to be enough to cover it. Okay, so I always err on the side of caution when you're running your numbers here. So the 400,000. So the other thing to think about it too is that if you had to do like a proper renovation on a unit, like even for a 1-bedroom unit, you're looking at about $20,000. Okay, 25 maybe. Okay, so to do 40,000 for a unit is not unreasonable here. Okay, so 400,000. Okay, so now I'm gonna put in my 80,000 for buffers, contingency. So that means I need to have access to $480,000 just for repairs. Okay, so now you're not gonna need 480,000 on day one, right? Because you're not going to do all the renovations on day one, and you're not going to have to pay the contractors in full, right? But you do need probably 10 to 20% of this cash available to pay the contractor to even start, to get them to commit to doing the work. Okay, then you're going to pay them in milestones, like say, okay, once you do X amount of units, or once you get to this level of renovations, then I'm going to give you a next amount. Okay, and then when you get to the next section, or when you do X more units, then I'll give you X amount. Okay, the faster you can turn these units around at a good quality renovation, that's what you want to target. Okay, you don't want to go with one contracting team and then have this drag on and on and on for like a year to 2 years. You want the renovations to be done ideally in 6 months. Okay, now because you're doing multiple units, if you could do it faster than 6 months, that's fantastic. Okay, now while it is being renovated, you also want to start advertising, getting potential tenants screening, and getting like interest of people wanting to move into this building. Now, because this building needs to be totally gutted, you may need to get permits, right? You may need to get what do you call it? The building code, the fire marshal through. Okay, it's not going to be a simple renovation where you just bring in a team and you just start the work. Like there's going to be staggered milestones that you have to make sure that you follow. Okay, so now with this spreadsheet, I'm just throwing in a ballpark number here. I could be completely way off, so that's why I would err on the side of caution when you're running your numbers like this. Okay, so I know from a building like this, when we fix it, like once it's completely finished and then once it's renovated and rented out, the after repair value, the ARV, is going to be anywhere from 1.1 to 1.3. Okay, now how do I know that? Well, because I've been looking at other listings in Regina, and also just asking different agents that I've been talking to, saying, hey, you know what, if I've got this building and it's rented out for this in this area, what's the potential value of this? Okay, so now we looked at another building that same week when we found this one. They were asking about 1.4, 1.3. Well, it's been on the market like 100 days. It hasn't moved, right? So yes, I could put down 1.4, but if nobody's willing to pay 1.4 for it, it's not worth 1.4. Okay, so I've taken the high number of 1.3, and then the low one is 1.1 because I've seen other buildings listed at 1.1. Okay, you don't want to overestimate your ARV. Okay, because one, the banks, when you go to refinance this, they're going to send out their appraisers. They're not going to give you the top value for your building. They're always going to come in slightly less. Okay, because they're trying to err on the side of caution here. Okay, so with this ARV, I use 80%. Okay, with some individuals, they're automatically using 90%, right? Because they're confident in their market, they're confident in their numbers. Okay, I stick to the 80 because I want to make sure that I give myself enough buffer. Now I'm adding buffer to my buffer, as you can see. Like I've got 20% here, I've got 80% here. Okay, so minus my repair cost. So that means my maximum offer price is either going to be 400,000 to 560,000. That's it. Okay, so you think about it. The listings is asking for 800,000. I'm coming in at 400 to 560. Okay, that is a huge discount. Now you might be like, Hong, that's ridiculous. There's no way the seller is going to give it to you. Well, that's fine, right? Then negotiate and try to get, some middle ground, or don't do this deal. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, don't worry about what the seller is going to think. Don't worry about if they're going to not accept the offer. Okay, because you're not out there to be buddies with the seller. You're out there to find the best opportunity for you so that you can make money. Okay, you don't want to take on a headache. Okay, so because keep in mind, when you're renovating, you could potentially overpay for the property, which is the first way of losing money in any purchase. The second thing is that you underestimate your renovation costs, okay, which is another way to lose money when you're coming into some sort of property like this. Okay, so the other thing too is that I always run this this holding cost, because the building is not rented and it's not making any income, and so I have to pay for insurance, taxes, hydro, water. Like there's holding costs, there's carrying costs for this building while it's sitting and being renovated. So if I put in a purchase price of 400,000, okay, and I'm assuming that it's going to take me 9 months to renovate and then get tenants in. Okay, so I'm putting in a bit of buffer time there to potentially find tenants and fill it. Because from the day that you finish renovating, you're not going to have people moving in and paying full rent. Like it's going to be staggered. Okay, so the closing cost is 20,000. So that's what I would need for, let's say, land transfer tax. So in Saskatchewan, there isn't land transfer tax, but what there is land title fee. Okay, so it's going to cost me roughly 5% of whatever my purchase price is. Okay, that is just an easy number to put in there. So it's any legal costs, any sort of cost to acquire the property. So just a general number there, 20,000. I'm going to put in my property taxes, my insurance, water, and gas. So as you can see, it's calculated for the 9 months that I'm going to be needing to renovate this. So because it's a full reno, I may not get a traditional mortgage on this property right away. Okay, so the one idea is to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go to a private lender and borrow the money that I need to renovate and to acquire the property. So I'm going to borrow it at 12%. Okay. And so it's going to cost me $57,000 for the 9 months to renovate. So that's going to come on top of the renovation money and the purchase price of the building. Okay, so potentially I would be making 162 to 362,000 depending on what the after repair value is. Okay, so then, so if you err on the side of caution, then you could say, okay, you know what, the max price is 400,000. Okay, if you're confident in your numbers and you think you can do this in 9 months and you can run everything, then put in your offer price of 560. Okay, that's because you think it's going to be evaluated at 1.3. Okay, so this is one way to approach this property to make sure that you're not losing money as you go. Okay, so this leads me up to this next analysis question. Okay, so let me unshare this. There we go. Okay, so this is one of the opportunities that I was speaking to a fellow investor in. And what they do is they buy single families and they do the renovation and they make it, they convert it into a duplex or a triplex. Okay, so this is one of the opportunities that we talked about, and they wanted to know whether or not this would be, a good opportunity. And it really depends, I would say, where you are in your real estate journey. Like if you're starting out, this may be a great opportunity for you. Okay. But if you are a seasoned investor, if your aim is to be positive cash flowing every single month, this may not be a great opportunity for you. Okay. So let me just share some ideas, some of the numbers here. So the purchase price was $440,000. Okay, the renovations was 100,000. So if you look at the spreadsheet that we were using here, so let me see here. So let me bring this spreadsheet back up so you can see what's going on. So the purchase price, so their maximum offer that they put in was 440. Let's just say that the renovation was 100,000. Okay, so the 480 here was 100. When they were done and they went for the appraisal, okay, the ARV for them was $650,000. Okay, so which is good, right? Like they made money on the appreciation and the forced appreciation when they were done, which is fantastic. Okay, so now to acquire this property, the single family at 440, they had to put down 20% down payment. Okay, so that tied up $110,000. Okay, so when they were done, they went to the bank and the bank said, okay, we'll give you 80% loan to value of your 650. Okay, which is perfect. So they got a mortgage for $520,000. Okay, so which is great. So now that meant that they had a gain of $80,000. Okay, so if you run your numbers, you'll see that they made they increased everything by 80,000. Okay, but here's the problem though. They had to put 110,000 in for the down payment. Then they had to pay another 100,000 for the rentals. That's $210,000 that they had to pay in. Okay, so once they refinance, they didn't get all their money out. Okay, they actually still had 130 left in the deal. Okay, so in the whole scheme of things, this is not a perfect BRRRR. Okay, so the BRRRR. So what happens is ideally you want a perfect BRRRR. Like after you go and you buy, renovate, and rent out, and you refinance, you want to pull out 100% of all the money that you put in. Okay, so that's the first part where I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's not the best opportunity. Okay. Now, in today's economy, when, the interest rates are so high, the banks are stress testing everything left, right, and center, it is very difficult to do a perfect BRRRR. Okay, so I'm just going to put that out there that it's not always possible to do the perfect BRRRR, which is fine. Okay, but the thing that you want to consider, though, is that if you have money left in the deal, okay, that's one thing. So now you're not able to pull that money out and do another opportunity because it's tied up, it's left in your deal. Okay. The other way to look at this as well is that with the new mortgage, what is now the mortgage payment? Okay. And with that new mortgage payment and all your other expenses like taxes, insurance, utilities, is the rental income now coming in from your new duplex or triplex, will it allow you to positive cash flow? Okay. If the answer is no, then it's not a good opportunity. So even if you have other income coming in to supplement it, if you've got money left in the deal and it's also a negative cash flowing property, it may not be a good opportunity to go into. Okay. So the rents coming in, you can sort of estimate what that rent's going to be because it's going to, because you have an idea of what the rental market's going to be like. And so you can say, okay, for my duplex, I'm going to make, $3,000. Well, is that $3,000 a month going to cover the mortgage, utilities, and what else? Yeah, the mortgage and the utilities and all those other fees. Okay. So on this example that we're talking about, on a $520K mortgage, if you do your normal, 5 or 6%, and then you amortize it over 25, 30 years, your mortgage payment is about $3,000 a month. Okay. And if you're renting it out for $3,000, you're not going to be breaking even. You're going to be negative cash flowing. Okay. So to me, that is not a good opportunity to get into. Okay. So so that answers that one. Okay. So now this also came in. So let me share my screen again and I'll show you what to do if your expense ratio comes. So when the real estate agent gets you the details of a property, okay, sometimes in this particular case, we know that the renovation cost is going to be, in this case, like $480,000, $500,000. Okay. You want to include that in your buying price right off from day one. Okay. It's not you buying it at 400 and then you worry about the 500,000 afterwards. Like you need to account that into your cost right away. So now in this particular case, we're going to say that the total renovation cost is 500,000, but then what is our cost per door? So in this particular case, we had 400 plus the 500. Okay, so in this formula, just make sure that that's right. So we got 400 plus the 500 divided by my number of units. Okay, so that means once I'm done renovating, it's going to cost me $81,000 per unit. Okay, so depending on the market you're in, that's going to be a good number or a bad number. Like Toronto and Vancouver, you're never going to get a unit at $81,000, right? But this is Regina, okay? So in Regina, it's very possible to get other already nice units for around $90,000 to $100,000. So why spend 9 months fixing a building with potential overruns, okay, potential delays for $81,000, right? There has to be a reason to justify putting in that time, okay, to be able to justify the 9 months of work. Okay, so this question came in saying, if there was a minimum of 30K repair costs, how would I enter this into the analysis to calculate, and would it be added to the buying price? So yes, so you would put it into this estimated repair cost here. It would give you your total, and then you would calculate your cost per door. Okay, and that would be part of your analysis. Okay, if it's a CapEx expense, like for down the road, that CapEx number comes down over here, right? So it's part of the other. Okay, so the question came in about the rent rolls. So when I get the rent roll and expenses and I go back to analyze and re-enter the numbers, yeah, so you definitely want to do that. So once you get the rent roll and the expenses, you want to go back to your initial sheet and update it to make sure everything matches. However, there are expenses related to office supplies, cleaning, accounting, etc. Okay, so as you can see, so in our spreadsheet, we don't have a lot of that stuff. Okay, so what you can do is you can change the internet, you can change some of these other columns to those things that you want. Okay, usually when you get the rent roll and expenses from the seller, they usually don't include office supplies, cleaning, and accounting. They usually only give you that once you've entered into the contract and they send you their actual accounting, their actual financial statements. That's when you're going to get that information. Okay. So for at the beginning, usually I just leave that as part of the 5%. Okay. If I know, let's say, in Alberta where we get a lot of snow and I'm going to need snow removal, I'll have a line specifically for snow removal because snow removal is like 5 months of the year there, right? So, or let's say if there's a security system, right? So then you can increase this other to 7% if you want to, okay? Usually this other is for CapEx, but if you know that there's going to be all these other things, absolutely go and adjust this 5% to 6. Okay, you don't want to ignore the information, especially if the seller is giving you that. Now, also keep in mind that in this case, it's nice that the seller has told you that they need office supplies and cleaning and accounting. But here's the thing, those are numbers that you can control when you're operating the building. So if usually individuals don't put those expenses in because they account for it somewhere else. Okay. So office supplies, cleaning, those are tax deductible expenses that you can absolutely write off. And it's great that you can take advantage of that. Okay. But keep in mind that those are numbers that you can control when you're operating. And sometimes if you have a property management company, some of those office supplies will be reduced, or you might have, like an in-house caretaker, and there's a line item there that has reduced rent and supplies that have to go there. Okay, so you definitely do want to account for those, but keep in mind that those are controllable numbers, and you want to write off as many things as you can. Okay, so which is why when we run our numbers, we never go with the minimum amounts that are reported in the expenses by a seller. Never ever. Okay, so good question. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to answer two other questions that came through that is not part of the analysis sheet here. Okay, so this one is, this one came from Mark. With high interest rates, does it still make sense to get a HELOC? Okay, so this is coming through because in the academy, I talk a lot about leveraging the mortgage that comes with a HELOC, because even though the HELOC is, 1 or 2% higher than a mortgage, it's good to have access to that HELOC because you can take that money, either do private lending with it, buy another property, use it as your rainy day fund. So there's a lot of pros when it comes to having access to a HELOC. Now, Mark's question comes from, with the interest rates being so high, does it still make sense to get a HELOC? And here's the thing. Yes, absolutely it does, because if you, one, can qualify for the HELOC, it's best to get a type of HELOC, one where you don't have to pay a fee for it if you don't use it. Okay, so let's say RBC, they have a HELOC product where for me, when I had to go get it, I didn't have to pay a fee just to get it. Some institutions now are charging a fee. Okay, so RBC doesn't charge me for having access to this HELOC amount. Okay, so it sits there. If I don't use it, I don't pay anything every month. Okay, some other institutions are actually charging a fee, which then at that point I would like, okay, either negotiate or move your HELOC somewhere else if you can. Okay, so if you can get it and it's not costing you anything, absolutely. Okay, and then the other thing with the HELOC is that you also want a HELOC that is growing every single month. So as you're paying down your mortgage, your HELOC space, the amount that you have accessible is going up every single month. Okay, so not every institutions offer that. Okay, so you want one where it's a revolving, so it's called a revolving HELOC. Okay. Those ones are the better ones because once you apply for it once and you get it, you never have to reapply for it. It's yours, okay? The other thing though to keep in mind is avoid the ones where they cap it, right? So they approve you, let's say for $1 million, they give you a HELOC for 200,000, but they don't give you full access to that 200 from day one. What they do is they give you access to 50, and then they slowly move you up to the 200,000. That is not ideal because what they do is they actually report on your credit bureau that they've lent you like that full $1 million, even though technically they haven't lent you that full $1 million, and it eats away at your debt service ratio, which you don't want. Like you want as low of a debt service ratio as possible so that you can leverage. So now to answer the question, does it still make sense to get a HELOC? Yes, absolutely. Because if you can qualify for it now, it sits there and you use it only when you need to for a rainy day fund, or when you have an opportunity that you're like, oh my gosh, I can pull the HELOC money out, pay the bank their interest, okay? Turn around and put it into this other opportunity that makes way more in return, okay? So there has to be a good spread there. Like if it's just like a 1 or 2 spread, it's not going to be worth the risk and the headache. But if the spread is 5 to 10%, absolutely. Okay, so good question, Mark. Thank you for sending that. Okay, so the last question coming in is this one here. So this one says an inn with short-term rental and seasonal using a 50% occupancy rate. If something like this is potentially cash flowing, okay, but the population is 4,000. So that means this is in a small town. It's a business, and I'm assuming that the land comes with it because otherwise you don't want to buy a hotel or an inn without the land. So I'm assuming it's the inn and the land. Would an investor get into this or avoid it? Okay, so if it's an inn, the town or the population is a consideration. Like you definitely want to make sure that you have a solid market that is growing, okay? If it's not a growing market and if it's more like a small town like tourism, then that's a different type of purchase, okay? And if it's an inn, you want tourism people to be coming through. Like you want people to be visiting, whether it's RVers or something that's drawing people to that town, right? There has to be events happening. So if it's a town that is not very touristy, well then why would people be going there? Okay, like the population is 1 point. So now you're assuming a 50% occupancy, okay? So it would be safer to go with maybe something even less than that, because in the winter you're not going to have as many people traveling unless it's like a ski town, right? Like downhill skiing or something like that. So like Whistler, like during the winter, it's a booming place because Whistler has some of the best hills. Okay, so now you can say, okay, fall and spring, you're not going to have that many people visiting. So now in the summer months, okay, are you going to have 100% occupancy? Nuh-uh. Okay, for a hotel, you might get 75-80% occupancy even in the high peak season. Okay, because there's going to be periods where some of the rooms are going to be sitting vacant. So if a hotel is seeing 75-80% occupancy, that's really good already. Like that's already at the high end. So going with 50%, I think you may be overestimating there. And especially with a population of 4,000, I would say, well, you're not targeting your inn or your motel to the 40,000. You're targeting for people who are visiting. So I would say, well, what's going to incentivize people to visit that town? Okay, so yeah, so would an investor avoid this? Not necessarily, but there has to be a reason to get the investor to even look at this opportunity. Like I look at hotels and liquor stores and stuff like that in small towns like 100 miles and like just outside of Calgary, but there has to be a reason that will take people there, right? Like Cranbrook is one of those, it's bigger than 4,000. It's a growing population. So does it make sense to potentially look at an inn in Cranbrook? Yeah, right? Because we're expecting an influx of people in Cranbrook. Okay, so that reminds me, there was something else that I wanted to share. So let me bring this up, not this one. Okay, so let me close that one down. There was something else I wanted to share with you. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is, oh, sorry, I'll ask my Zoom. Okay, so let me share this. Okay, so we will do this one last thing and then we're going to go. Okay, so this is one opportunity that came up that one of my students sent me, and they said, Hong, this is a great opportunity here. It's 350,000 for this building. Okay, and the reason why they thought it was a great building is because it's 30 units. Okay, so my first question always is, okay, for okay, like it's super cheap, right? Okay, well, why Winnipeg? Okay, what is it about Winnipeg, Manitoba, that makes you want to invest there? Okay, I don't have anything in Manitoba partly because whenever I go there, I'm driving through with my RV or I'm flying in as a connector to go somewhere else. Like, I've walked downtown, I've gone to, the casino, I've done stuff in Winnipeg just to see what it's like, but I still don't have anything there, right? So the question for you is, why Winnipeg? What is market? What is the indicators that's making you want to invest in Winnipeg? Just because this building is dirt cheap doesn't mean it's a good buy. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and one of the ways to think about it is when you're at the grocery store, okay, you can buy a bottle of table syrup, like the table syrup is just sugar liquid, right? Or, that's like, $2-3 for a bottle. Or you buy real maple syrup for $20. Okay. Yes, the price point is significantly higher with the maple syrup, but you're getting better quality. In the long run, it's better for your health. Okay. So yes, you're paying more right now, but the quality, okay, is so much better. Okay. So, and it's funny because with table syrup and maple syrup, I can't tell the difference unless I'm reading the label, right? So it's almost the same thing with real estate. Like, yes, this is what I would sort of be like, okay, this is table syrup. Okay. Okay. So my question would be, why this market? Not even the building itself. Okay. Why Winnipeg? Okay. So when you go into Google, okay, you want to do your analysis, just Google, okay, or Yahoo, whatever search browser you're using, type in the question and just start doing your research on that market. Is the population going up? Is the unemployment going up? What's the crime rate like? What's the average income of the people there? Okay, you want to know all those types of details. And okay, yes, there are pockets within a city that will be better than others. Okay, so part of the market research is calling up the different agents and asking them, hey, which area should I be looking at? Is there a tent city close by to this area that I'm interested in? Is this area going to be improving in the next 5 or 10 years? Okay, so I was looking at this property, because the question came in, and you can see like it's boarded up. It's not even like it's not lived in right now. It's an abandoned building. Okay, so you're inheriting another abandoned building. Okay, and if you can fix it, if this is in a great area, okay, oh my God, like, yes, then it would be a great opportunity. But you need to understand what the market is telling you. Okay, the thing to keep in mind with real estate is that this is a long game purchase, right? So yes, you could buy it, you could fix it up, you could offload it to somebody else. But if nobody is willing to buy it because it's in a crappy location, it doesn't matter if you can fix it and if it's worth like that other building that we were looking at, 1.4. If nobody's willing to pay 1.4 for it, it's not worth 1.4. Okay. So just make sure that, you know, you have that secondary strategy, which is, okay, if I can't sell this once I fix it, am I okay with holding on to it? And is it going to cash flow when I hold on to it? Okay. So this is an example of just running your stats. Here's a website that I came across that goes through all of the real estate stuff. You don't want to just look at this year. You want to look back into a couple years and be like, okay, well, what was the trend in the back? Historical trends. Okay, so this is the map here. I like to go on Google Maps and just get a sense of what that area is like, right? So like what's next door, what's across the road. Okay, so this image was from 2019, so it's a little bit dated, but it still gives you an idea of what's there. Okay, so if you look, so this is the building in question, this sort of reddish one. Okay, so look, there's a donation box thing there, okay? It's like for clothes and shoes. Okay, you don't want those things on your property, okay? Because you're encouraging people to drop crap and making it not a nice looking building, okay? So ideally, you want to get rid of that. Look at what's in the windows here, or in the balconies, I should say, okay? Junk. Okay, so this gives you an indication of what type of people are living there. Okay, so now if you look at the listing, so just pay attention to this blue mattress, okay, this brown stuff there. Look what's happened here. They've completely barred it up. Okay, what that tells me is that maybe homeless people, maybe, you know, not so nice people are hopping the balconies and going in and doing crap in there. Okay, so you want to, and this I'm assuming is more of a recent picture, but look, it's completely barred it up. Okay, so that means all this junk is probably still in there. Okay, because as like if I was the owner there, I wouldn't put the time and energy to get a dump truck and empty all that stuff out. So if you are going to be the new buyer of this building, just be prepared to pay for a dumpster to come. Okay, and I don't have any numbers on the top of my head about dumpsters. Yeah. Okay, so that's a whole other topic there. Okay, so this building here, I would say, okay, if you live in Winnipeg, it might be a good opportunity for you to look at, okay, considering that there's an apartment building here. But I would say if you're not in Winnipeg and if you don't have a portfolio in Winnipeg, then I would say take a step back. Why do you want to invest in Winnipeg? It's got to have some good reasons. Okay, because otherwise, why are you going to be dumping in, okay, a 30 unit building times $40,000 a unit? Okay, that's going to be pricey. Okay, so, right, so you want to make sure that even if you get this property, you know, let's say even $250,000, okay, you're going to be paying more than $500,000 just to fix this up. Okay, so that is Money Matters for Monday, December the 4th, 2023. Okay, so thank you everybody for tuning in. I am going to sign off. Please, if you have any questions, please email them to me or connect with me on the QR code here, and I'd be happy to hop onto a call with you. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you for watching.